All right, Sober Psychology crew, it's Michael, your host, your guide, your battle-scarred navigator of the human mind's wild terrain. And today, we're diving headfirst into a topic that's raw, it's real, and it's relentless. Taking action. Not the polished, seize-the-day fluff crap that you're going to find on a coffee mug, but the gritty, soul-shaking act of forcing yourself to move when your brain is screaming, "Nah, let's just binge Instagram instead." Here's the hook. You're not stuck because you're lazy. You're stuck because your brain is a slick con artist, rigging the game to keep you comfy and as small as possible. I have fallen for it, trust me. Years of letting life slip while I planned out tomorrow with a glass of whiskey in my hand. We're slicing into the psychology of action, why it's so damn hard, why it's the key to everything, and how to outsmart it. How to outsmart your own head, really. Expect hard data, studies, and tips that don't suck, plus humor that's real, because if you can't laugh at your own epic failures, then what's the point? You came to the wrong channel. Sorry. So whether you're listening on Spotify, dodging dishes, or procrastinating all of your tasks that you need to do, or watching me flail on YouTube, strap in. This one's for anyone who's ever stared at a goal and then thought, I can't, or maybe I'll do it tomorrow. Spoiler alert, you can do it now, and you absolutely can do it. Let's dive right in. Welcome to the show where we break down the mental health stigma, navigate sobriety with humor, and prove that it's okay to laugh while you heal. Let's get real, let's get honest, and maybe a little weird. Growth is messy, but you don't have to do it alone. This is Sober Psychology. All right. Thank you all again for another episode, for coming back, for hanging out, for just sneaking in. If you're new to the channel, welcome. This is Sober Psychology. We just kind of do a deep dive on a bunch of random psychological topics, but then also because I am a recovered alcoholic, we're going to talk about it from the perspective of addiction and recovery as well. So hopefully we find a pretty good balance that is somehow or another engaging enough to keep you around and help you out in whatever way possible. Last week's video, we had a lot of good feedback on, had a lot of people reaching out that just were honest and raw. And so I appreciate that. Appreciate all of you. We'll do our typical, we'll just go around and say, hey, thanks. I appreciate you. Hey, I appreciate you over there. Hey, I appreciate you. As always, if you're not watching on YouTube, you're missing the multiple camera angles. And again, you're not missing really anything at all. It probably just sounds weird listening to it on audio, but I digress. Let's pin this down before we just start shouting into the void. So taking action is an intentional move towards a goal, especially when it feels like wading through mental quicksand. It's emailing that client, it's hitting the gym, or even apologizing when you'd rather just eat glass. I get it. I'm real bad about that, I promise you. Psychologically, it's about overriding your brain's factory setting, which is to avoid effort and to seek ease. We're always looking for the easier, softer way. You see this in the big book a lot too. Addicts, alcoholics, I'm with you on this. This is a very difficult one for us. We're always going to be looking for the easiest way possible. We don't want to make that amends, or we don't fully want to admit, or whatever it is. As you know, if you withhold anything on your fourth step, chances are you're going to relapse pretty quickly. If you are checking up, if you're not doing what's right on your amends, you're trying to take the easier route, it's going to show at some point, right? Evolutionary psychology, and you could think Robert Trivers, we've talked about him before, in his 1971 Reciprocal Altruism, when he was talking about all of this, he says that we're wired to conserve energy for survival, not to chase dreams or to seek out getting our inbox to all messages to be read. So we're in this constant survival state, or just a natural human state of conserving energy, right? But here's the juice behind all of it. Action begins to rewire your brain. You know we love us some neuroscience on here. Neuroscientist Antonio Damasio's decision-making research shows that action fires up the prefrontal cortex, which is your brain's big boss, while calming down the amygdala, which is the fear-monger that's constantly yelling, "Don't freaking do it!" Studies from neuroscience letters in 2017 break this down for us. So as far as the prefrontal cortex boost goes, it's going to be goal-directed action, which is going to increase prefrontal activity by roughly 25%. This is going to significantly increase and sharpen your focus, okay? So now you're locked in. Then you're going to get a dopamine hit. Completing a task is going to spike dopamine by 15 to 20%. Dopamine is good. That is a good thing, and you want to chase it. We've talked about it before as addicts, alcoholics, but we're constantly chasing that dopamine. This is a way to do it. You just have action. Bingo. And then as far as the stress drop is concerned, action lowers cortisol by roughly 10%, unlike procrastination, which is going to pump it up by 15. I don't know about y'all, and you may not have a lot of knowledge in the field of neuroscience, and that's okay. But we do know that we don't like stress. We do know that cortisol is the result of that stress. It's that stress hormone. So on one side, you can have action that's going to help you lower your cortisol by about 10%, or you can have procrastination, which is going to raise it by 15%. We talk about this in our daily lives, whether you believe it or not, but how many of you are, like, we shrug off procrastination like it's a joke. And don't get me wrong, sometimes it becomes that. I am awful at this, and you can break it down and you can medicalize this however you want. You can say it's ADHD, you can say it's OCD, you can say whatever it is. I'm one of these people that I will put off a task. I do all of my schooling online right now, right? And I will know at the beginning of the semester when all of my due dates are. I could sit down in a couple of nights and finish my semester if I really wanted to grind. But I'll know that something is due a week from now. And I will wait, and I will wait, and I will wait. Because I have a setup here. I have my computer here where I do all of my work. I also have my gaming computer right beside it. That's a dangerous combination. And I have the decision. I can go ahead and knock this action out now, which is going to lower my cortisol by roughly 10%, as we previously learned. But I'll choose to procrastinate. For 6 days, I'll procrastinate. I'll play video games. I'll read a book. I'll doom scroll, do whatever. And then lo and behold, now I'm putting myself into crunch time. I'm raising my cortisol. My cortisol is spiked through the roof. And I'm convincing myself that I focus really well when I'm under pressure. And then before you know it, I'm stressing myself out to accomplish a task that I have known for a month that it was due on this day. So I don't know if any of you can relate to that, but I feel like that's a pretty common thing. But action is not just about doing stuff. It is a neurological power move. I'm telling you. It is a power move. So why does it feel like herding cats? It's because your brain is a hustler. That's why. It's like a sketchy motivational speaker who's constantly going to whisper to you, you don't need to act now. Tomorrow is fine. You can do it then. Meanwhile, your goals are collecting dust. I've been there. I struggle with it a lot. Planning to fix my life while my couch has developed a permanent me-shaped dent. And my brain was like, well, you know, we can just write that email when you could do it later. It's fine. Why don't you just go ahead and doom scroll right now for 3 freaking hours? And it's just a classic con, right? We do this all the time. Addicts, alcoholics, big book tells us that our brain is trying to kill us and make it look like an accident. This is an element of that reality, right? You're going to constantly push things off. Your brain is going to constantly trying to con you into this position of saying, okay, you can just do it tomorrow. Don't worry about it. But then you get to it tomorrow and then you're like, you can just do it. You can do it the next day. And it just keeps stacking. All the while that cortisol is spiking and you start to gain weight. You start to get stressed. You start to not have the mental focus because that prefrontal cortex isn't firing. You're just listening to that amygdala, which we have talked about how much of a bastard the amygdala is. Don't listen to the amygdala, please. Anyways, let's get under the hood. Inaction is not a character flaw. It's your brain playing dirty, basically. And here's why. taking action, again, can feel like arm wrestling a gorilla. So you have loss aversion. Daniel Kahneman, I think that's how you pronounce it, Kahne, man. Anyway, he has Nobel-winning work that shows that we fear loss twice as much as we want wins. Think about that. One blew my mind when I was looking into that research. We fear loss twice as much as we want wins. I'm a hyper competitive person, probably to a point where it's sickening. It's probably a detriment to me a lot of times. I don't know. But the reality that I fear losing more than I actually want to win, that is an ultimate trick that my brain is constantly playing on me. Action is going to risk failure. So your brain is just going to tell you, hey, stay put, pal. You're good. All right. So that's loss aversion. Right. Then we have decision fatigue. I need to have something that helps me pronounce these names, but Baumeister or Baumeister? Sure. Baumeister's research in a Journal of Personality and Social Psychology says that willpower is finite. So after about 10 decisions, your brain is just tapped, and then action begins to stall. I read an interesting article in Esquire, I guess. It was talking about, they were interviewing Obama. This was back during his presidency, talking about how he has like 2 or 3 outfits, always a white shirt, crisp white button-down shirt. And then he has either a blue suit or a black suit. And it's already there. He goes ahead and sets his out. And a lot of successful people do this, by the way. They set their outfit for the next day. They go ahead and set it out the night before. Okay. All that's doing is eliminating decision-making first thing in the morning, right? Because at a certain point, we all have a threshold and everybody's different. I don't know how accurate 10 decisions is, but I mean, we have decision fatigue, and that's a real thing. I do it too. I'm pretty resilient when it comes to making quick decisions and being able to just spout them off and go. But like, even with all the schooling stuff, I got to make a bunch of decisions in a very short amount of time. I get fried at a certain point, right? We're going to talk about how you can mitigate that later on. But then you have self-efficacy. This is a bad one. This one's mean. Albert Bandura's 1977 theory says that if you don't believe that you can do it, you won't even try. Low self-efficacy cuts action by 30%. Guys, we're pushing the halfway mark on that. If you don't believe that you can do it, you're just not even going to try. You've already defeated yourself. What's the point? Kind of thing. And this is really cool. And I don't know the whole science behind all of this, but you watch these videos of like people doing incredible things that they didn't even know that they can do. It's because they didn't put the limitations on themselves. It's incredible what you can do when you like I've always thought, I mean, obviously you have gravity, you have physics, you have things that come into play. But like when I go work out, right, I'll tell myself, well, if I'm going off of last week or numbers from last year or whatever, I know that I can only lift X amount of weight, X amount of times, right? If I didn't have that knowledge, if I didn't have that mental block, if I just rolled up in there and did it, then I wonder if I could lift a little bit more. Maybe it's not significant. Obviously, there's going to be physical limitations. I'm fighting gravity as well. It's just the way it's going to work. But this is why, I don't know any of you who play sports, who bring your significant other along to play sports. I have learned that a very dangerous place to be in a marriage or a relationship is taking your significant other golfing, if you take golfing seriously. But what frustrates me the most about doing something like that, whether it be disc golf, real golf, basketball, football, whatever, is that you typically, if you're the athlete, you're the one who's always playing these sports, you have already set your limitations in your mind to a certain extent. You know what you're capable of and what you're not capable of. Then you enter in someone who has never played that sport before, explain to them very basically what they're supposed to do. And you've already, in your mind, subconsciously, you're trying to put limitations on them based off of your limitations and the skill gap that exists between. And then they end up, they have, you call it beginner's luck, right? They end up doing 10 times better than you thought they could. It's because they haven't developed the limitations yet in their mind. Fascinating science behind it, and you could look into it. But this hits everywhere. At work, relationships, personal growth. You want to ask for a raise, but then your brain tells you that you're going to sound dumb. You want to start a hobby, but then your brain's telling you, yeah, you're too old for that. In addiction, it's freaking brutal. It's bad. It's really, really bad. Promising yourself that you're going to quit, but grabbing the bottle instead. A 2019 study in Addiction Magazine found that 60% of recovering addicts delay action. And this is therapy, this is meetings, personal growth, whatever. All of that due to fear. 60% of recovering addicts delay action due to fear. But it's not just addiction. Anyone can freeze. I've read stories of CEOs that procrastinate on multi-million-dollar deals because they're afraid their brain is telling them, what if this flops? A CEO, you've already hit this certain level. You would expect someone to not have the barriers of fear surrounding them, but they still do. Your brain is constantly trying to defeat you. That's just the reality. I don't know why that is. I don't understand it. The point is, inaction is universal. It's why your gym membership is a donation to Planet Fitness. It's why your novel is still a blank page. But here's the flip side of all of it. Action is a muscle. We have to work it, use it, and it grows. The Journal of Behavioral Medicine in 2018 found that small repeated actions can boost habit strength by 20% in 30 days. Small repeatable actions. Okay. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Small repeatable actions. It's going to start to boost habit strength by 20% in 30 days. This is 30 days is not a long time when you're trying to develop habits, right? And then as far as confidence is concerned, each task that you complete increases your self-efficacy by roughly 15%. That's a big number for self-efficacy, which is just the way that you're seeing yourself, right? That's self-doubt. And you can start to increase that. You could build the resistance against that, the belief in yourself, by roughly 15%, right? And then as far as mood is concerned, action-oriented coping slashes depressive symptoms by 25%. 25%, guys. Depression runs rampant, unfortunately. And we're not going to get into it. I'm not going to go on a tangent here. I think that we overdo it on the whole diagnosing people with depression stuff, as opposed to just accepting that there's a human condition that exists. But we've talked about this a million times. If you're down in the dumps, if you just are feeling like garbage, you don't feel good, you're not comfortable in your own skin, go outside and walk. Walk for 10 minutes. Just get out. It doesn't even, the added benefit is if there is daylight, but you don't have to do it. Just go and move your body. Do 5 push-ups real quick. Knock them out. Do something. Knock something out. Send a text message to a friend and say, hey, thinking about you, hope you're doing great. Boom. That right there is action-oriented. You're coping now by doing action-oriented coping. And then it's going to begin to slash that depression, slash all of those depressive symptoms by 25%. That's a big number, okay? Big number. If you're 100% depressed, you just slashed a quarter of it, okay? Bingo. That's math for you, by the way. That's right there. Confidence sounds nice, but let's be real. Starting is the worst. I tried taking action over, I've been wanting to write a book forever, okay? And I'm still going to, okay? This whole episode has just been nothing but a call out for me, but I've tried taking action on a novel. I got as far as opening my Word document and then naming it Masterpiece because I'm just arrogant and I think that I'm funny, but most of the time I'm just really not. And then I spent 2 hours Googling how to write a novel. And then I ended up watching baseball highlight videos for another 2 hours. My brain is like, you're basically Hemingway now, so just chill. And I haven't done anything. It's pathetic, but that's just humans. That's just the way we're wired, right? You think about this from the religious perspective too. This is one of the things that impacted me the most, is that faith without works is dead, okay? You're not going to find, and I genuinely believe this in my relationship with God, that He doesn't tell me just to sit there and pray it all away. If I've got something that is really banging me up, or I'm doing something wrong, or whatever it may be, I'm holding myself back, I'm procrastinating, I'm depressed, whatever it is, it's not just about sitting and praying it all away, right? God wants us to act. There's action behind everything, right? We talked about this, I think, last week, maybe 2 weeks ago. Instead of praying for a lighter workload, pray for a stronger backbone. Give me the strength to walk through it. Help me learn. And that's part of God loving us too. It's the same thing, the way that we are as parents or friends or whatever. If someone is coming to you for help and you just do everything for them, you robbed them of their ability to learn in that moment, right? If someone comes to you and they're looking to you for help, whether it be your own child, whether it be a friend, whatever, and you help walk them through them, you basically strengthen them to be able to go through it. I'm going to point you in the right direction. I'm going to be your shepherd here. I'm going to point you in the right direction and you're going to go, and I'm going to help you along the way. Now you've allowed them to learn, and they're going to be better off down the road when this comes back up, right? Everything has to have action behind it, okay? Even praying, it's an action. It's a form of an action, right? Like if I'm being resistant, I'm telling myself like, I'm so ashamed. I'm so embarrassed of the things that I've done. I'm not going to go talk to God about it, as if I'm going to con God. But you still have to take the action of praying, right? And then there's going to be action that's going to follow it. And we always do this thing. You see people in movies all the time, like bargaining with God, like you're going to somehow or another have leverage in that situation. But you're going to run into the reality that God is not a genie in a bottle. You're not just going to say, God, fix this for me and I'll do whatever you want. Okay, what if God tells you, hey, maybe go wash the dishes, maybe do the laundry. And then you whine and you complain like, God, why do you give me the toughest battles? And he's like, I'm asking you to do laundry. I'm asking you just to pick your house up, okay? Get your own house in order. That's what I'm asking you to do. Like, we are so scared of action, and the action is what allows us to continue to move forward, right? So let's just lean on the big guns here. B.F. Skinner's operant conditioning. We've talked about this before. It's very important, I think, in the world of psychology, but it says that behavior chases rewards. You act, you get a win, and then your brain wants more. You become addicted to this idea of moving, of that's what you're supposed to do. We're not supposed to be sedentary. We're not supposed to just be bland, blank, nothing. We're here for a reason. We have feelings, we have hearts, we have thoughts, we have consciousness. Why are we not acting, right? And that's why small steps are king in this. You finish one email, and then you feel like a god. Okay, we'll go do another one. I can't pronounce this person's name. I'm gonna butcher it. But Csikszentmihalyi, whatever. They talk about the flow state, right? And the flow state is when you're taking all of these actionable decisions and you're in this really cool spot of like just in flow, right? And it's a really cool spot. You hear athletes talk about this a lot. You hear speakers talk about this a lot. Debaters especially, where they're just in this flow state, right? Like you have this momentum from these actions that you're taking where you're just kind of flowing through it all, right? I've yet to find it with doing a podcast, but I would love to be in a flow state when I'm rambling on about things where my brain goes all over the place. Anyways, when the flow state kicks in, it's when you're so into an action that time begins to melt away. We've all done this before, right? You get so locked into something that you're doing, and then you look and it's been an hour and a half. You feel like it's only been 2 minutes, okay? Writing, coding, organizing your desk, playing video games, whatever. Flow is a natural high. And that's it's fascinating to look at how your brain responds to all of it. Neuroimage in 2016, I believe that's a magazine. It shows that flow state can boost dopamine and serotonin by 10 to 15%. No drugs needed. Okay? This is all because we're taking action. Right? And then there's cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. Roll your freaking eyes all you want, folks, but I'm going to go ahead and let you know, as someone who is going in to be a cognitive behavioral therapist, it is good. I don't care what all these self-help people say. I don't care about all these people that are denying therapy, saying that it's a scam. Those are probably the people that need it. Now, I'm not one to over-medicate. I'm not one who thinks that you need a pill for every single thing. And I'm also not one to sit here and give you some name tag to go with every one of your emotions and say that you have some level of condition. At a certain point, we have to accept the fact that we are just human beings, and that's just the way it is. And we have to start to build this resilience. And you need that little extra push in a professional manner. That's where cognitive behavioral therapy comes in. So anyways, I digress. Aaron Beck's work says that action breaks negative thought loops, okay? So we just talked about it a while back. Go for a walk, do something. When you're in this negative mindset, this depressive mindset, the action is going to break the negative thought loops. So you think, I'm a failure, just do something, anything. And then the thought begins to weaken. It's fascinating and it works, promise you. A 2020 meta-analysis in behavior therapy found that structured action cuts anxiety by 20%, big number. And then acting disrupts overthinking by 30%. Acting disrupts overthinking by 30%. You just have to do, okay? And then task completion is going to boost your self-worth by 15 to 20%. Those are big numbers, okay? And all of this is just saying, just act. Stop overthinking it. Stop freaking out about it. Stop letting yourself sit into that cycle where your brain is trying to trick you out of it, because it is the con artist, and you just start to act. In recovery, this is absolute gold. Showing up to a meeting or journaling an amends, it's going to shift your headspace. We're talking now in the prefrontal cortex. That's where everything is starting to work. Action is universal. Start a project, call a friend, fix that leaky faucet. It all counts. All of it counts. Just do something. Please, please just do something. So tip number 1, I told y'all we're going to give you some tips. Here we go. Tip number 1, start, stupidly small, if that's what you need to do. Big goals, I'm beginning to believe, are kind of a scam, all right? Your brain smells the pressure and then it's going to bail out when you're setting all these big goals going to the moon. Okay, sure, I know that my main goal is to get to the moon, but I need to do small things along the way to get to that point. How do we do that? Great question. Here's the plan I'm going to line out for you. Do something for 60 seconds. 60 seconds. You can set a timer. Write one sentence. Do one push-up, send one text message. Atomic Habits, which is incredible, it's an incredible read, by the way. I would highly suggest it. It says that this is going to build momentum. And what did we just recently learn momentum helps us do when we're taking action? Gets us into that flow state. In flow state, it's going to raise all of the appropriate levels that makes it feel like we're on drugs, but we're not actually on drugs. We have a high now. We're wanting more and more and more of this action, right? And then you can do, it's a Q action reward, I think. CAR, yeah. I don't know. I don't remember how I put this down, but you can link an action to a trigger and then a treat. I know hang in there with me because it sounds like we're talking to a 5-year-old, but this is just, it works. Our brains are 5-year-olds sometimes. So for example, let's say that after you have coffee, take a sip of coffee, drink the whole coffee, whatever. That's going to be your cue. Then once you've had that coffee, write one idea, start writing the novel, send the text message, whatever the case may be, and then take a bite of chocolate. So after your one coffee, which is going to be your cue, write one idea or send a text message. That's going to be your action. And then have a bite of chocolate. That's going to be your reward. Okay? Bingo. Cue, action, reward. CAR. Told y'all last week that psychologists and their acronyms are what makes the world go round. And there you go. Cue, action, reward. And then the other part of it is tracking it. This is going back to that mindfulness, keeping track of it, helping you journal, whatever. But you can check off tasks in a notebook. That helps a lot of us. It helps me too. I do this all the time. But Frontiers in Psychology says that this is going to spike your dopamine by 10%. It's just that feeling of accomplishing one thing. Check, done, moving on. Okay? It's very powerful. You're doing these things that are tricking your brain. I know it sounds demeaning. I know it's like we're talking to a toddler, but I want you to take a good hard look at your inability to act and tell me that you haven't been acting like a toddler. No, I don't want to do it. Me. Okay? Love you guys. I'm not trying to be mean. Tip number 2, you use the 5-second rule. Mel Robbins was talking about this, and I caught her episode talking about this. She's not a psychologist, but she's on to something here. She knows what she's talking about. You can count down from 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then move. Short circuit hesitate. This is going to short circuit hesitation. Okay. Neuroscience says that it engages the prefrontal cortex. So there is validity to this, which is going to be bypassing the amygdala's freeze mode in under 5 seconds. Okay? We talked about this before. Something comes in, you're stressed out, you're worried about doing something. If I don't want to do a simple assignment for my class and I'm making it a bigger deal, and as I think about it and as I procrastinate, it gets to be a bigger and bigger and bigger deal, I can just count down from 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, let's do it. Because all I'm doing is tricking my brain. I'm bringing it from the amygdala, which is telling me, this is a big deal, dude. You don't need to be doing this type of work. And I'm moving it to the prefrontal cortex, which is like, this is really simple. Why don't you just start doing it? Okay? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method. You can try it. If you have a work block, a writer's block or whatnot, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then just start that report. If you have, social fear, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, boom. Okay, send the text message. And then you have a morning slump. You don't want to get out of bed. Take a deep breath, hold it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. As you're counting down, just slowly let that breath out. Get out of bed. All right, this is going to start to work that muscle that we've talked about, where it's just building the resilience in that prefrontal cortex. And here we go. We're off to the races. Counting down is like arguing with a toddler, or arguing with the toddler version of yourself. Right? 5, 4, 3, and then your brain's like, no, I don't want to do it. But then you're doing it, and it's like, wait, this isn't so bad. Why was I so bowed up about this? It's ridiculous, but it's science. I've counted down to everything: emails, workouts, even writing papers. And sometimes I think I'm nuts, because I am nuts. But I'm telling you, it works. That's just the reality of it. That you let the boss of your brain, which is that prefrontal cortex, take over. You're going to want to start doing action, right? All right, so let's get unhinged for a second. Action is not a magic pill. All right, I know we've been talking about it. I know I've made it seem like it is. Action is not a magic pill. If you go too hard with the action, then you're just screwed. Psychologists call this action overload. Again, there's a name for everything with this. It's just wearing yourself out. You can do too much, right? Everybody has a threshold. But this is when you're going to pile on tasks and just ultimately crash. You wear yourself out, and it's not fair to yourself, but we do it. I do it all the time because I am not good at taking small bites. I feel like I got to eat the whole elephant right now. We got to do it, and I just get sick, right? The Journal of Occupational Health Psychology in 2019 found that overloading tasks ups your cortisol by 20%. And then 40% of high achievers report burnout from overaction. Okay, that's another big number, 40%. These are high achievers too, right? And then you've got failed actions, which are going to begin to fuel shame, which is going to increase depression by 10%. So basically what's happening is you're taking on too much. You feel like you have to be Superman, Superwoman. You got to take on the entire world and everything has to be solved tonight. You get so overloaded, your cortisol is spiking. Now you're getting really stressed. And then if you're a high achiever, you're getting worked up over how much is needing to go on. And then before you know it, you're burning out completely. And then you fall into a pattern of self-criticism where you now are going into a depressive state, right? I've been there. I've tried to fix my life in a week, especially when I got out of rehab and I thought, this is it. I got to fix everything right now. Then you get the new job, new hobbies, new me, everything all at once. And then by day 5, you're just a zombie yelling at your toaster for burning your bread, right? And in recovery, this is a relapse trigger. You overdo it and cravings begin to creep in. But it's not just in sobriety. Anyone can overcommit. Anyone. Balance is key here. Tip number 3. I believe this is my last tip for you. Plan, but don't choke. Structure action without strangling yourself. That's very important. Structure action without strangling yourself. Here's how you do it. One daily goal. You pick one thing. Finish one report. Send one email. Start off small. Start to build up to it, right? You're working out. Just do one set, okay? And then come back to it a day after, next day, whatever, and then do 2 sets. Just start building and working towards it, right? And then you have the time block side of it. Set 15 to 30 minutes per task. The Journal of Productivity says that this boosts completion rates by 25%. Those little timers that you can put on your desk where it's just a timer and you know, the alarm goes off, you set it for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever, and then you just slap it when it's done. You know, that's your break, okay? I'm going to lock in and I'm going to write this paper. I'm going to send this email. I'm going to do this research. I'm going to work on this project for 30 minutes. When that timer goes off, I'm slapping that timer and I'm going to step away for maybe 2 to 5 minutes. I can doom scroll. I can go get some water, whatever it is, but you just give yourself a little bit of a break. And that's going to boost your completion rate, according to science, by about 25%. And then schedule your breaks. This is a big one. This is the rest that we were talking about. Get one of those little desk timers. Rest is going to cut cortisol by 15% per Health Psychology. That's a big number. Cutting cortisol is important. We need to get rid of it or mitigate it. I've tried to do this to rearrange things in my life, but I try and plan one big task daily. Say writing this script. Like there's one day where I get to make that my sole focus. That's my one big task. That doesn't mean that I'm not doing anything else, but that's my biggest task. Okay. And I put a lot into it. I sit down and I write it all. I type it all up. I organize it. I get it all set up and ready to go. But then the rest of the day, I get to breathe. It keeps me sane, and it's not screaming. I'm not screaming at appliances, you know, like I'm not just losing my mind for no reason, right? But you start small, you work your way up, okay? And then you're going to go back to having to start small again. Like there are just going to be times in your life where you can't just take on everything, okay? So let's zoom back out for a second. Taking action is the skeleton key to life. Work. Proactivity nets 20% higher job satisfaction per Psychological Bulletin in 2021. Relationships, acting, like apologizing or planning a date, it's going to boost trust by 15%. You don't have a relationship without trust, okay? Mental health, action-oriented coping cuts anxiety by 10 to 20%. Carl Jung said that action is how you meet your shadow, which is the parts that you would rather hide, right? You have to do something. And then you begin to learn who you are, right? Doing certain actions is going to bring out these parts of you that you may not want to face, you may not want to look at, but it's going to give you an opportunity to at least face them and start to wrestle with those. And then you can start to grow. You begin to know who you are, right? In recovery, action is critical. You think step one, where we admitted that we were powerless, right? Or just showing up to meetings. Bingo. It's simple, just do an action, right? But it's not just in sobriety. It's starting that business. It's asking someone out or fixing that damn faucet that you've needed to fix, okay? Action is messy. Failure is guaranteed, but it is the only path. You won't always win, but you will grow, okay? Understand that. Don't go into it thinking that you're going to be defeated, but go into it knowing that failure, whenever you take action, failure is always on the table. It may not happen. You may just be one of those people that has 100% accuracy. You're good to go. But for the rest of us, most of us, all of us, you're going to fail at some point. And all that is just a gauge. It's a guide to help you learn what you need to do next time. Okay. And growth is overrated when you're face planting. Action's not about nailing it. It's about being the guy it's about not being the guy who's still gonna do it in 10 years. You know what I mean? But here's the truth. Taking action is your rebellion against your brain, or against a brain that wants you to be as small as possible. It's not easy. Loss aversion, decision fatigue, your inner slacker, they are all real, and it's valid. For what you're fearing and what you're thinking about when you're in that wheelhouse. But so is the payoff, right? Dopamine, focus, a life that you don't hate. You start small, count to 5, plan smart. The science begins to back it, and you understand it when you actually are doing it. Prefrontal cortex, flow state, all of that. My life backs it. I'm here. I'm absolutely not perfect, but I'm moving forward. That's all I got. And in recovery or not, action is your proof that you're not stuck, okay? So your challenge, which I'm going to give you, I'm giving you homework, kiddos. Let's go. One action today. Send that email. Do one squat. Say sorry, whatever it is. Feel it. Just be a part of it. Have that. Enjoy that. Understand that that is you growing. You are not your brain's bitch. You are the boss, okay? Anyways, Sober Psychology crew, thank you for rolling with me. Audio folks, we'll catch you next time. YouTube warriors, smash that like if this woke you up at all. If it made you want to move at all, take action. There you go. Accountability, take action. Smash that like button. Okay? And then comment, what's your one action today? Okay? What's your one action today? Pick one and keep it raw. Be real. Be real. And if you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. These are all actionable things you all should be doing. Okay? Don't play games with me. Until next time, just move. Your life is waiting. All right? Keep your head up. Keep your heart open. Go help somebody. Love you guys.